The UK has millions of old terraced houses that are difficult to extend. I've worked on projects like these in Edinburgh and they can be very challenging. The houses are usually Victorian or Georgian, built in tight rows with narrow landlocked back gardens. They often have tiny kitchens, cramped bathrooms and limited natural light. They were not designed for the way we live today. Extending them is hard. Planning permission can be unpredictable and the construction work is often expensive and disruptive. Over the years, I've wondered how they handle this in other parts of Europe. Lots of cities have similar terraced homes. Is there anything we could learn from how they renovate them? So I've come to Brussels, the heart of the EU. This is the Etterbeek neighbourhood, just a 15-minute walk from the European Parliament. I found this property on Airbnb. It's called Maison Fétis, and straight away I knew this place was special. It's a typical townhouse built in the early 1900s. The building has a floor plan that is both narrow and deep. It even has the same type of mosaic floor tiles common in British homes from the same period. But what makes this project remarkable is the way it's been extended. Instead of using bricks or timber, the architect designed a prefabricated steel extension that was built in a workshop and installed in just 3 hours using a crane. As if that wasn't enough, they also added another story on top to increase the number of bedrooms. The interior of the house underwent a full renovation and it has been finished to a very high standard with some wonderful features. This is a very different approach from anything I've seen in the UK. Come inside and I'll show you what we could learn from this innovative little house. I'm going to start by showing you around to get a sense of the layout. Then we can get into the details, including the cost to create this property. I got the drawings and detailed information from Cédric. This is his own house, and he's also a partner at the architecture firm that designed the project. Check this out. The property is arranged over 5 floors. The garden level, which is really a semi-basement, contains the kitchen, a utility room and storage. This is where the extension sits. The ground floor has the main living areas and a study, and the upper floors have bedrooms and bathrooms, with the principal bedroom on the new top floor. When Cédric bought the house in 2017, it hadn't been changed since the 1970s and everything had to be renovated. I know from my own projects that upgrading heating and electrics can be very disruptive and expensive in older properties. It makes a lot of sense to alter the internal layout at the same time to absorb the cost of new flooring, ceiling, plastering and decoration in one go. And provided the budget allows, it also makes sense to build an extension while you're at it. Just like back home, extensions like this are common in Brussels. Most of these old townhouses have small rear gardens, and adding a modern box to create more living space seems to be widespread, but Cédric did something different. The problems he faced were challenging. The house is only about 4.5 meters wide internally, and the rear garden is difficult to access. I've built projects like this in Edinburgh and we usually carry all the materials through the house. That slows things down and it raises costs. It also limits the size of things like new patio doors. All these constraints led Cédric to an unusual solution: prefabrication using steel. Instead of building the extension on site from traditional materials, he designed the entire thing to be fabricated in a metal workshop, then installed in a single day. Let me explain how this works because it's quite brilliant. The extension is made from a single sheet of 5mm thick steel. Now 5 mils might not sound like much, but steel is incredibly strong. This thin sheet forms the entire structural skin of the extension. To give it rigidity, Cédric used 5 stiffening gantries. These are structural ribs, 20mm thick and 100mm deep, that are welded to the inside of the steel shell. Think of it like the ribs on a boat. The outer skin is thin, but the internal frame gives it strength and shape. What makes this really clever is how much the steel does. It's not just structure. The steel sheet acts as a vapor barrier, preventing moisture from getting into the insulation. It's also the interior finish. Once painted white, it becomes the wall you see inside the building. Everything is integrated into a single material. No plasterboard, no separate vapor barrier, no internal cladding. Pearl light insulation was installed between the existing party walls and the outside of the metal shell. It's a volcanic mineral that has excellent acoustic and thermal properties. I haven't encountered this material before, but my research shows it can be used as granules to fill narrow spaces, so it's ideal for the gaps at the other side of the steel walls. This drawing by Cédric shows the junction between the glass door, the steel sheet and the brick party wall. It's a plan view taking a slice through this part of the structure looking downwards. I love how the design incorporates zinc cladding and a rainwater downpipe. It's practical but also elegant. On the roof, rigid insulation was placed on top of the steel and zinc cladding finishes the outer surface. The steel shell acts as a natural vapor barrier, so there's no need for separate membranes. This is a clever layering system that maximizes thermal performance while keeping the steel exposed internally. It also produces a wall that is thinner than conventional construction. That matters when the building is so narrow. The extension was fabricated in a workshop in just 3 weeks. Then it was painted white, which took another week. And here's the remarkable part. It was transported to the site on a truck and installed using a mobile crane in just 3 hours. I've seen prefabricated buildings before, but never anything like this. In the UK, when we prefabricate, it's usually timber frame or modular pods for large housing developments. But Cédric's approach is different. This is bespoke, one-off architecture made in a workshop, and the benefits are clear. First, it's incredibly strong. The combination of the steel skin and the internal ribs support the entire extension, including the roof and all that glazing. Second, it's precise. Everything was built in a controlled workshop environment, so the tolerances are so much tighter than traditional site-built construction. That means everything fits exactly as it should. Thirdly, it saves time. A conventional extension would take months to build on site. This one took 3 hours to install. And fourth, it's recyclable. Steel is 100% recyclable. If this house is ever demolished, the extension can be extracted and recycled in its entirety. Cédric told me this project is a prototype. He wanted to test whether this method could work for future projects, and based on what I've seen, I think it does. Now, one interesting thing about this extension is how it looks from the inside. The steel ribs are left exposed. They create this wonderful rhythmic pattern across the walls and ceiling. They've been painted white so they blend with the steel shell, but you can still see their form. It reminds me of the exposed ribs in a Gothic cathedral, or the structure of a timber-framed barn. The architecture celebrates the bones of the building. The glazing is really impressive. These are minimal frame windows, and they flood the kitchen and dining area with natural light and create a strong visual connection to the small garden outside. The glass sits directly into the structure with almost no visible framing. And the staircase is equally impressive. It's welded directly into the steel shell. It doesn't need separate support. Now, before we go any further, let's get something straight. As an architect, my clients regularly show me inspirational photos of features from other buildings they want in their own homes. This can be anything from kitchens, bathrooms, flooring and windows, but right at the top of the list are feature staircases with no handrails, just like this one. In the UK, that would never be allowed. Our building regulations require handrails on all staircases for safety reasons. I asked Cédric about this and he was completely honest. Handrails and barriers are also mandatory in Belgium, but this is his own home and he made a conscious architectural decision not to install one. He explains that this isn't the only staircase connecting the ground floor and the first floor. There's another, more comfortable staircase that his family uses for everyday circulation just inside the front door. When they rent the house out, they explicitly inform guests that these stairs should be avoided by children or when tired or under the influence of alcohol. Cédric was clear. For a client project, he would never have designed the stairs without a proper handrail or barrier. This was a personal choice for his own house. And he added that if he ever decides to sell the house, or when he becomes older and wiser, he would design an elegant and appropriate barrier to bring the project to its natural conclusion. I respect that honesty. It shows the difference between designing for yourself and designing for a client. In my own practice, I would never recommend a client build a staircase without a handrail, even if they asked for it. The liability is simply too great. But I understand why Cédric did it. The staircase is a sculptural element, and adding a handrail would compromise the clean lines of the design. Now, the extension isn't the only interesting part of this house. The main roof was also raised to create a top floor, and that work was done using traditional masonry and timber construction. The party walls were raised using bricks, the roof structure is timber, and the dormer is finished in anthracite zinc, which is also used to clad the extension, so they match. I've used zinc on several of my own projects. It's a material I'm planning to make a feature video about later this year. Homeowners in the UK overlook zinc because it isn't traditional or widely used, but I think it has advantages over more conventional cladding. It's durable, sustainable, and can produce very crisp details. For the intermediate floors, Cédric designed a contemporary but respectful renovation. The lower floor, which used to be the cellar, now has a concrete slab with polished screed and underfloor heating. It's the same polished concrete you see in the extension, and it creates a continuous surface that connects the old house to the new addition. The kitchen is simple but functional. The units are well laid out and they fit the space perfectly. Everything is designed to be practical rather than showy. I especially love the circular table. It has an adjustable leg that was once in a vet's surgery. The new stairs leading to the top floor are a bespoke feature made from plywood. The choice of material matches the original pine flooring and stairs in the rest of the house, and I like how the half landing has this open grille. It makes the space seem lighter and more transparent. I'm definitely stealing this detail for a future project. The principal bedroom suite takes up the entire top floor. The bed sits against a low wall with built-in storage, and the wardrobes incorporate bespoke sliding doors on either side. I love these recessed metal handles. The ensuite is bright and spacious, a big shower, a feature bathtub under the roof light, and 2 wash basins. And the toilet is in a separate room at the top of the stairs. On the floor below, there is a feature I encourage my own clients to adopt. If you own a tall home, 3 stories or more with bedrooms on the upper levels, you don't want to be carrying laundry up and down the stairs. I guess that's why my townhouse clients are always so thin. This family bathroom also doubles as a utility. It's next to the bedrooms where most of the laundry is generated, and that means clothes and bedding can be washed and dried on the same level. I also love this portal between the children's bedroom and the room next door. It's so playful. These are the kind of domestic details that make life easier in family homes, and this is the kind of thinking that is evident throughout the house. Everything is well detailed, but it's not extravagant. This is a practical family home, not a showpiece. And I think that's part of what makes it work. Cédric invested in the structure and the extension where it really mattered, and kept the internal finishes relatively simple. This project demonstrates something I've always believed. Good architecture isn't about expensive materials or elaborate detailing. It's about solving problems creatively and making the most of your budget. And about now, you might be wondering, what did all this cost? Cédric was good enough to share the costs with me. The project was finished in 2019, so I asked him what it would cost to build this today in 2026. Cédric estimates it would cost approximately €480,000. That's £415,000 sterling. That cost includes the complete renovation of the existing house, the addition of 1 extra story at roof level, the rear garden extension, all the finishes, heating, ventilation, windows, doors, and everything else to complete the project. I've done many projects like this in the UK, and I think a budget of just over £400,000 is exceptional value for money given what Cédric achieved here. The entire construction phase lasted 1 full year. Given how quickly the extension was built, the bulk of that time was spent carefully renovating the interior of the existing house. I have used a crane just once on my own projects, to lift large sheets of glass over a house for a garden room extension in Edinburgh. It took a couple of hours and the crane company organised a road closure permit with the council. All in, it cost £1,500. Cédric told me speed should not be the driving force of a project. Doing things properly takes time. He believes there is no magic in construction. Building too fast often means building badly. I completely agree with this philosophy. In my experience, UK clients often underestimate how long renovation work takes. They want everything done as quickly as possible, and that pressure can lead to mistakes. If you are thinking about altering, extending, building, or buying a home anywhere in the UK and you need advice, you can book an online consultation with me on the Real Life Architecture website. There's a link in the description. One of the things I was most curious about is how the approval process works in Belgium. In the UK, we have 2 separate systems, planning and building regulations. Planning deals with the function and appearance of the building, and building regulations deals with technical issues like structure, insulation, and drainage. In Brussels, it works differently. They have a single urban planning permit that integrates everything: volume, external materials, energy performance, environmental impact, structural design, and more. In the normal course of events, there is a lot of back and forth with the authority giving constructive feedback on the proposed design. It's a substantial amount of work, and in the case of this house, it took almost a year to get approval to build. Cédric told me the form of the extension evolved to ensure it didn't negatively impact the neighbours, because that would have led to the application being refused. If they had built a simple cubic volume over the double height space, the direct neighbours would have been faced with a large blank wall that blocked their view and reduced natural light. The cubic volume was sculpted to respect the neighbours. This is what ultimately generated the project's form, and it also creates interior views that are more orientated towards the park and its large trees. In the UK, a project like this would take between 2 and 4 months to get planning approval, and maybe a month longer if the building is listed. The building regulations approval varies. At the moment, it takes 3 to 6 months for a project this size. In theory, some local authorities in the UK could approve a project like this in less time than it took in Brussels, but others would be about the same. The Belgian system also requires an architect to inspect the project during construction to make sure the approved drawings are followed, and the architect has to sign a form declaring this took place. I recently made a video about how the UK government are looking into something like this for our industry, but it could be years away. I'm not sure how I feel about the Belgian system combining planning and building regulations into a single application, but I have to say the standard of design and construction in Brussels is generally very high. Maybe the single permit system and mandatory inspections by architects seems to encourage everyone to be more thorough, and I think the results speak for themselves. I've always believed that constraints inspire creativity. This house is a perfect example of that principle. Cédric had to work with a narrow site, a tight budget, limited access, and a complex regulatory system. But instead of seeing these as obstacles, he turned them into opportunities. The prefabricated steel extension is a brilliant solution to a common problem. It's fast to install, it's strong, it's recyclable, and it looks fantastic. I think this aesthetic, the exposed steel ribs, the large glazing, the polished concrete floors, suits the old townhouse it inhabits. It creates a dialogue between old and new, between traditional and modern, without one dominating the other. And that's what good architecture should do. In the UK, we're often too cautious. We stick to tried and tested methods, and we're afraid to experiment with new materials or construction techniques. But projects like this show what's possible when architects are willing to push boundaries. I'm not saying we should all start building steel extensions in the UK. Our climate, our regulations, our construction industry are all different from Belgium. But we can learn from the spirit of innovation that this project embodies. We can be more ambitious with our designs. This house proves that with the right approach, you can create something exceptional within tight constraints. If you want to book a stay here yourself, the property is available on Airbnb, and I've put a link in the description. This video is one of a 3-part series I've made about new home design in Europe. There's a link to the series up here. Thank you for watching, and remember, if you need advice about altering, extending, buying, or building a home anywhere in the UK, you can book an online consultation with me. There's a link in the description.